Hello, and thank you for joining me on another one of my adventure travel series videos. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dimitri, and I'm an American expat living in the Philippines. If you find this video entertaining, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And now sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you on an exciting adventure of the Timelapse Traveler. The boat tour guide from the previous video also had a team which took us on a tour of Cebu City. Khrys and I didn't know any other reputable guides in the area, and these guys seemed like they would be a good option for us to get to know the city from a local guide's perspective. It seemed like a good idea to hire them for an extended tour package after the boat ride. However, the result turned out to be very much a mixed bag. At first, we explored the town of Lapu-Lapu, named after the famous warrior chieftain who defended the tribe against the Spanish conquistadors when they landed in Mactan back in the year 1521, when the Spanish were able to convince the majority of the ruling Maharajas to convert to Christianity. The warriors of Lapu-Lapu, however, refused to bow to a foreign king on the other side of the world, and instead challenged the invaders in open battle, where the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan was killed before he had a chance to circumnavigate the globe. The first place we were taken to is the Santo Nio de Cebu Mactan parish church, which is a modern landmark built to honor the Santo Nio statue, which is actually the oldest relic of Christianity in the country. It was brought as a present and peace offering to Raja Humabon, the ruler of Cebu province. This is a beautiful church building, but no matter how I try, these images just can't possibly give it justice. We then left Mactan and went over the Marcelo B. Fernan Bridge to go into the old city of Cebu. By the time we arrived into the city, it was already well into lunchtime, so we decided to look for a place to eat before going to the historic sites. Unfortunately, our driver was more accustomed to relying on his memory for navigation, which caused us to circle around through the city traffic until we finally found a place where our guides thought we would enjoy a stop for lunch. Even when we did rely on Google Maps in order to find the location, this is one of the clearest examples that Google Maps here in the Philippines is not the best way to navigate, because we were given the runaround over and over until we finally found it. Alright, here's step 2. Here we're going to be having our lunch break. Not sure exactly the restaurant we're going to, but hopefully it'll be something nice. Yeah, by the looks of it, it should be pretty good. Alright, I have to look for plan B because this place is actually closing right now. They're open only until 2 o'clock. So we're gonna have to look for something else. Another place for having lunch. Right now we're kind of in the Cebu City proper. So I think there should be some nice options around here. Plan B turned out to be this old heritage restaurant, STK Ta Bai, which is a really quirky name meaning, dude, let's grill, soup, and ceviche. This restaurant clearly has a lot of history. As we walked towards the back, the smells of the food gave us a hint that we came to the right place. The decor in this restaurant reminded me of my great-grandmother's house back in Ukraine, with old relics lining up every nook and corner to give a truly memorable ambience that I really wish that I could take my mother to experience, because she would appreciate it most of all. This looks like an antique style restaurant. Very babushka. After a little bit of a wait, I got the mixed vegetables in what I'm hoping is curry sauce, although it doesn't really look like it or taste like it, to be honest. And Khrys got her shrimps, her favorite thing in the world, shrimps. So just want to make sure that this is actually curry, but anyway, time to eat. After lunch, we went directly to the heart of Kalibuhan district in the old city of Cebu to visit some of the most famous historic sites. Just got some magnets from this lady here, so we got that already taken care of, got that out of the way. Got some little bit pasalubong for some people, so I have something to show for it. Thank you. Salamat. Now we're going to check out Magellans Cross. Wow. This is the site of the replica, supposed replica of Magellans Cross. There's the place. You know, kind of a tourist trap. It is the only place that's known for being the site where Magellan landed back in the 1500s while trying to circumnavigate the globe, but he never made it past this point because he was killed in a fight by Lapu-Lapu. Although it is considered to be the actual original spot where Magellan and his men planted the cross, it is widely believed to be only a replica, built in the general vicinity where the Spanish, along with the Portuguese explorers, had put up the first Catholic cross in the Philippine soil in 1521. Right across from Magellans Cross is the College of Santo Nio, and there's also a chapel of Santo Nio inside. And that's the next thing that we're going to check out. I love Niño. Well, I bet Niño would appreciate this one. Minor Basilica del Santo Nio, founded in 1565, making it the oldest Catholic church in the country. It was built on the spot where the image of Santo Nio de Cebu was found during the expedition by Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, over 40 years after its original arrival to the Philippines. This icon, a statuette of the child Jesus, is the same one presented by Ferdinand Magellan to the chief ruler of the present-day Cebu province, Raja Humabon, that I mentioned earlier. The current building was completed between 1739 and 1740 and has been designated the mother and head of all churches in the Philippines. The church was declared a basilica, further elevating its status by Pope Paul VI in 1965, who called it the symbol of the birth and growth of Christianity in the Philippines. Needless to say, this is a very popular place of worship and is even a major pilgrimage destination for many people. And because we came here during Sunday Mass services, we got to witness the largest crowds that I've ever seen here in the Philippines up until that point. But this video I made using a 360 camera only scratches the surface in showing just how many people we came across.
Now entering the fort of San Pedro. Looks like this fort has some very humble beginnings.
In the 1500s, that's what it looked like.
Of course, the founding of Cebu happened through a bloody skirmish.
Fort San Pedro is a military defense structure built under the command of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, who was the first Spanish governor of the Philippines. The original fort was made of wood, but in the early 17th century, it was rebuilt as a stone fort to repel Muslim raiders. What stands here today dates back from 1738 and is the oldest fort of its kind in the country, which served as a hub for the original Spanish settlement in the Philippines. During the Philippine Revolution, at the end of the 19th century, it was taken over by Filipino revolutionaries who used it as a stronghold. It is quite a large fort with a total inside area of just over 2,000 square meters and close to 22,000 square feet. Today, part of the fort is a museum. Inside the fort, it houses the legacies of the Spanish government, well-preserved Spanish artifacts such as Spanish documents, paintings, and sculpture. So this is a weird dichotomy because Magellan is simultaneously revered and his death and execution is simultaneously celebrated. So it's kind of difficult to figure what to make of that. The fort became part of the American Warwick Barracks during their occupation. From 1937 to 1941, the barracks was converted into a school where many Cebuanos had their formal education. Then, during World War II, from 1942 to 1945, Japanese occupiers hid within the walls to escape from the bombardment of the American forces. When the battle to liberate the city of Cebu from Japanese forces was fought, the fort served as a makeshift hospital for the wounded. For a few years after the war, from 1946 to 1950, Fort San Pedro was an army camp, after which the Cebu Garden Club took over and converted the inner part into a miniature garden. In 1957, Cebu City Mayor Sergio Osmeña Jr. shocked the public with an announcement to demolish Fort San Pedro and build a new city hall in its place. The reaction from the public was strong and swift, which quickly led the mayor to drop those plans and preserve this important piece of history of the city. That same year, the city council commissioned a zoo subsidized by the city within the fort courtyard. By 1968, facade quarters and the walls of the original structures of Fort San Pedro were so badly worn out that only the two towers were recognizable, and so plans for the restoration of the fort were started and the zoo was relocated. The Fort San Pedro restoration project was very time and labor consuming. To restore the fort as close to the original as possible, coral stones which were pulled from under the sea along Cebu coastal towns were used for the project. The walk and the observatory roof garden were faithfully reconstructed after a year and a half of hard work. The restored main building now serves as the Cebu office of the Department of Tourism. The lieutenant's quarters now house a museum. The inner court is an open-air theater, and its immediate vicinity is a park for both tourists and locals to enjoy. After our tour of the historic sites, we still had several hours until our flight back to Manila. We decided to visit the SM Mall to buy some pasalubong gifts for some people back home. This place was absolutely huge. Being the 5th largest mall in the country, which attracts between 100 to 150,000 people daily, depending on the day of the week. You can find some really major venues here besides all the shops and restaurants, including a bowling alley, an esports arena, and an IMAX theater. When choosing what kind of gifts to get, nothing makes people happy quite like getting them cookies. The Hypermart store had a truly huge section dedicated to just that. We ended up spending way more time than expected here because of the crazy multitude of choices, including some surprises like this. We then rushed off to the airport and said goodbye to our tour crew that we spent the entire day with, and grabbed some delicious dinner from Zubuchan while waiting for our plane. This was my first time trying food from this chain, and I was pleasantly surprised with the quality and taste for the price that I paid.
Well, finally boarding the plane, and unlike the last time where I was sitting all the way in the back, literally the very last seat, this time I'm traveling in style. The 5th row, it's pretty close to the front, so it's not gonna take too long to get off the plane when we finally land. So I just hope that, oh wow, looks like the luggage is kind of already packed in. Sheesh. Let's see what we're gonna do about that one. Might have to put the luggage in a little bit further in. That's what happens when you don't board the plane right away
What started out as a business trip got extended into one of the most memorable and amazing vacation destinations. Even though it was only a 3.5-day getaway, a lot of fun and excitement was packed into that short span of time. From boating, snorkeling, exploring a bird sanctuary, and visiting some of the most iconic heritage sites, I was able to expand my appreciation for the history and culture of the Philippines that much further. I really hope that you enjoyed this travel series. If you did, then please do hit that like button. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and check that bell notification for future updates. Take care of yourselves and each other, and always look forward for more exciting videos coming at you from the Timelapse Traveler.